Hi everybody, welcome back. Tim Schneider with Aegis Learning, and we're continuing our series on relational intelligence. Last time we talked about 4 foundational principles that are associated with all positive and healthy relationships, and those include time and energy. I mean, just bluntly, you have to put time and your own kind of emotional energy into all relationships. We talked about affinity, that connection that we have to have, whether that's as complex and deep as being related to somebody, or whether it's, we go to a club or organization together. We also talked about communication, and that being the calling card and how we strengthen, build, and maintain all relationships. And then the fourth one was something called reciprocity, meaning there has to be a mutuality associated with all relationship pieces too. It can't just be all one-sided. Now today we're going to expand that a little bit to some other characteristics as well. First one is trust. Every relationship, no matter how peripheral, no matter how far out there has to be a degree of trust. Even in the most distant arm's length, multiple arm's length business transactions, there's a little bit of trust. You pay for something, you trust that it's going to arrive. You meet somebody for the first time, you trust them with certain amounts of information, just even as simple as your name. The next, and these are all going to be pretty closely connected too. Next one is transparency and vulnerability. Relationships require some degree of disclosure and some degree of information being exchanged, and that requires, first of all, that trust. Then it requires you to be vulnerable and open and to provide that information. And again, like we talked about before, there also has to be reciprocation associated with that. The next, and probably one of the most interesting characteristics of all of the relational elements, is the degree of care and concern. Every relationship strata has a different level of care and concern associated with it. Not that you would ever be completely uncaring about your fellow man, fellow person, but the degree of concern tends to grow as the intimacy increases with every relationship strata, which is our final characteristic we're going to talk about of relationships, and that is intimacy level. Now, please don't get me wrong, intimacy is not about physical contact or being naked with one another, but it's about the total degree of exposure that you're willing to provide in a relationship. How much are you going to let somebody in? Are they going to know about your challenges or about your failures? And again, that's kind of cascading down from vulnerability. But it's that real intimacy piece. It can even be described as this. Are you comfortable in silence? Does there have to be communication? That's a pretty intimate-based connection. Are you comfortable with nothing more than eye contact? That is a pretty intimate-based connection. Again, it has nothing to do with sexuality and it has nothing to do with romantic love, but it has everything to do with relationship depth. Now, as one final reminder before we kind of move on, this relationship intelligence is not about accumulating the biggest number of friends. It's about having friends and about having connections and relationships that are healthy and positive in all of the stratas, and applying the right levels of energy and communication and vulnerability and trust associated with all of those. Now, the next time we're together, we're going to start tearing apart those levels of relationship, and you'll be able to get some real value out of how to look at where people belong and where people fit, and maybe where you're not putting your efforts in the right place. Have a great week, everybody, and I look forward to talking to you soon.